morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my new friend, YssaH. Hi, YssaH.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to learn from you today and to share all of the opportunities that people have to tap in to a bigger consciousness in co-creating the new earth. And a lot of the people that watch this show are servant leaders, and they spend a lot of their time working to uplift and help their employees as much as their customers, and they don't always have time to find resources like you. So we want to make sure that they know what you're doing, and because you're just shooting up like a rocket right now, where you're getting to be in so many events and so much wonderful things you can sort of feel are coming through. So let's for the people that don't know you, and I'm so lucky I found you. Explain to people, okay, so you're a cosmic experiencer and you're an ambassador really from the multidimensionality, the beings that you are able to connect with. You can bring their knowledge into here. And you also are helping with the primordial blueprint of humanity, right? How did you get started with all of this?
Well, my inner path of remembrance began ever since I was a little girl. There would be all type of beings that would come and visit me, mainly at night, and they would make themselves very evident, at least to me. So this type of beings were, as I said, were all type of like low frequency, high frequency, very high frequency. And the direct interaction that I would have with the ones with high frequency was pretty intimate. The other ones really just made themselves seen, but they would never come close. And so that's where it began. And after, I was explained that I would be going through, let's say, very specific events throughout my childhood, from a mundane approach, that it would be better for me just to stop for that for a specific amount of time, um, not being aware anymore of my connection with all these fields, so that I could focus to my merely human the merely human aspect of myself. And by human, don't mean that our humanity is separated from our galactic lineage, because actually they are quite interconnected. What I'm talking here is that just mainly focused in that simulation aspect. So that happened throughout um, the rest of my life until I turned out 30. But I could still have like a lot of connection with other beings. Like it never truly stopped. What it variated was my form of perceiving reality and what I was focused on at that moment. It was mostly about recollecting information of how to deal with the lower frequencies in order to access to a sort type of mastery of how to handle those kind of energies. Because when we're talking about codes, which I will get to that in a bit, because I translate codes like the one that I have behind, we're talking about a lot of information that when it's very primordial, there is a lot of information that might try to come through. So there is a lot of clearing, there is a lot of work to actually make this sustainable, harmonically speaking. So then um, when I started recollecting, like all this knowledge in a very unaware state, before I became pregnant of my daughter Sufi, I I started restoring, all that awareness. And then when I finally at 30 got pregnant, then it was a rebirth for me.
Cool.
And then I started remembering, and everything happened so fast, so fast. The right people started coming to, like, presenting directly to me all the ways, which way to go, very clear, very neated. So then I started opening up again to this inner path of remembrance. And fortunately enough, it was very fast. It was very fast. It was like when it has been a while since you have seen someone, and it seems like time hadn't passed at all, and that you just saw that person yesterday. Well, in that way, that's
Yeah.
how it felt.
Oh,
And
I love that. I think a lot of people are like you, where they came here to be human. So there was a period, either it wasn't accepted in our families, so we learned to not say anything, or we just wanted to have the human experience enough to have the compassion for what's going on, because we came here, I believe we stood in line to get these bodies to be here right now during this big change. And it really was a courageous act.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, it worth it. Otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Right.
I do remember that the fact that we have been here, most of us, in like several times. It's because there is something about this planet, about the goal that we are meant to achieve, that makes us really want to be present for the moment that it happens, that collective evolution. Which, again, I was a couple of days ago having a show with a beautiful friend of mine, and we were precisely talking about this, what seems to be a constant reset, that every every in a specific amount of time, let's say to 26,000 years, cycles of 26,000 years, we have like very specific events, like the precession of the equinoxes, our transit through the photonic belt of Alcyon, and also around 32,000 years or something, there is like a specific reset that happens. Like there was a flood, like the Dryas, younger Dryas, and so forth. That it follow a very specific amount of time. It's not random. It's very given. It's like the phases of the moon. They're inherent cycles. So this is what we're talking about, this reset. And what I didn't mention that time is that how I see it is that, like, time over time, what we are trying is to actually move forward into just a group ascending, and actually creating a reality, manifesting a reality in which it is the whole planet that shifts from consciousness. Because again, we know that everything evolves, and so the planet. So if we're saying that we as beings, as human beings, as cosmic beings, we have the capability to raise our consciousness, and therefore move from different dimensions, what we call it as dimensions, then also the Earth, also every planet, everything. So what would be the ascension of Earth at a different level of consciousness? Let's say a seventh level of consciousness, a ninth level of consciousness. Where here we are talking about the capability of the Earth as becoming a mothership. There are different planets that actually have that capability. I know that it might sound like too sci-fi, But the thing is that if we really move through the principles of the universe, the laws, the universal laws, and I'm not talking about the what we can find in the Kybalion. I'm talking more, let's say, at a unified from a unified physics approach. Like everything follows the same pattern of evolution. You just have need one formula, then you use that formula at different gradients or at different scales. So if we use that to also see that, like even Earth, planets, stars have their own evolution, which is not forcefully, for instance, in the case of stars becoming supernovas and then all the way to pulsars or black holes or so forth, then we can ask ourselves, okay, so what would be the evolution of the Earth? I think that it's more than just being hit by a planet and then becoming the asteroid, another asteroid belt. It could be actually achieving that capability of moving from star system to another star system. There are theories about that. We can see it in ancient ET artifacts that there are representations of what we could call the solar system, which they are giving a lot of attention to Saturn, being Saturn like the main figure, even beyond the sun. So we know that the solar system has been evolving, and also that the background in which, for instance, if we go to ancient texts, we would see that how it's spoken about the Earth, the moon was not always there.
Exactly. I love all of this ancient history, getting back to the indigenous knowledge and the mystery school information that'll let us acknowledge and utilize our superpowers. I'm all for that, because I really think we are the living library. This whole ecosystem is a blessed unit. And maybe there were lots of experiments to get us there. I don't care. I mean, it's a great playground, and we need to focus on what we want to create with it, rather than all of the fear and the victimization of everything. That's what really, truly, we are in a period that you can do just about anything that your heart desires if you can keep your attention and focus and put your energy on it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's about coherence, and also taking into consideration that as much as we are creators of our own universe, we're also living in an interconnected universe. So, what does that mean? That it's like a very, like let's say an atom, An atom has different components. Yes, it has different protons, but each proton is not just one proton. There are different groups, that actually each unit being together is what creates along, like along with the neutrons and the electrons and so forth, is what creates the atom itself. Nevertheless, because also this concept of like self manifestation, and by this I mean not manifesting yourself, and to some extent I'm talking about like creating your own reality, and also the concept of unity have been very distorted, because it's like where things can actually get kind of confusive, because if we say that unity is all of us coming together and that we are one, it's not that we're just one proton. No, we're different protons, and due to the different interaction of those protons is that the whole structure of the atom, along, as I said, with the neutrons, and the influence of the electron is that the atom is generated, comes together, is functionable. So it's functioning. So if otherwise the universe would have done just one proton per atom, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
this this is the beauty. It's very important to acknowledge also our unicity within the unity. And that in order to manifest the whole reality, taking into consideration how the field of others are influencing directly and indirectly our reality, it's also a mastery of how to navigate this reality, which is playing chords of frequency, energy, and vibration, and how they respond to, in relation to your own field.
Perfect. Beautifully said.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so I have so many questions. I'll try to stay on task.
Feel free to ask.
because I really want to learn from you. Okay.
Yeah.
I find that I can feel, for instance, the image behind you, and I have so much stuff like that. I find that I cannot articulate what it is, but I know what it is. It's as though it's a sensual experience for me, and sometimes it's just a reinforcement, like where I'll be attracted to art that has light language in it, or sacred geometry in it. I have lots of sacred geometry here. And what happens is I'm just I marvel that you speak multiple languages and you can articulate it. How do you do it? Could you, I don't know if it just came natural, or how can I do it better?
Well, it's in my case, I have always loved speaking in different languages. Um, Ever since I was a little girl, it's something that it was easy for me to get a hold of it. Nevertheless, the time that I was living in Egypt, which was about 4 years, and it was about 2 years ago, I went through a huge preparation of in knowing how to use the brain, how the brain functions, and how to deliver specific commands so that the brain responds. And then that led to acknowledging that it's not only about the brain, it's about the heart, it's about the gut brain, because those neurons are barely taken into consideration and actually play a fundamental role in our cognitive processing.
Exactly.
For instance, when it comes to the gut brain, if you don't have if you don't master, or let's not even say master, if you cannot have a proper or a harmonic relation with your emotional body, then it's because your gut brain is very much isolated from the aware interaction in which you deliver every day. Like, for instance, like just neglecting its existence, its importance, and so forth. When you start to actually take more into consideration the neurons in your brain, you will see that most of, not only the neurons, but most part of the mitochondria in our body are located in the gut brain. And the mitochondria now are, like, more and more are becoming very popular, very famous, because they're super important. Actually, they're super important. If you have a healthy mitochondrion, then you have like very good health, because the mitochondrion are, regardless of what it's thought about them, that they are only the power source of the body, they're also the brain, the cell, the cell's brain, because they choose which cell is going to be active and which not. Like, again, back going, and I could go, like, through the importance, the thing, and related to the capability of speaking many languages, is that when you enable a channel of healthy, of a harmonic interconnectivity in between your three brains, then the brain lobes are receiving the fair amount of energy required to deliver the proper transmissions that in this case, in which the hippocampus is very much retributed. Why? Because a lot of the memory is related to the hippocampus. And even though we know that it's not like you open a brain, you dissect it, and then you will see, like all the files as microchips in the brain. It's quite different. There are very specific regions in our brain, in our heart mainly, that have a more needed connection to the space memory network. And by this, I mean that we can access through to that iCloud, if you want to call it. I rather call it in another way, not to create any attachment to any egregor, but just to give an example. So that's when we actually are capable to connect to that field where all the information is, and that it's not like we are bringing it. We're just activating within it, because when we also remember that all the languages are embedded in every particle of light within us. And if we want to go more into a mesoscale, that are embedded in every gene and every segment of DNA, not only the languages, yet all the universe, when we not only acknowledge it, when we actually feel it, when we are brave enough, brave enough, because I know that what I have seen throughout my path, and having being blessed with being able to support people throughout this path, and the other way around, of course, but I'm talking more about like giving sessions and courses, online courses, and so forth, is that people, what they are mostly afraid of is embodying their power. Why? Because this reality was very much configured into the survival mode. So, ironically, as it might seem, and as it is like the less afraid you are, the more afraid you become, and you need to actually bring other things to be afraid again and then feel safer. I don't know if I'm expressing myself, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. Well, I think again, I feel that there's many of us are being given tasks. They're almost tests in some ways, where you say you want this, you create a timeline that you're going to do something, and then it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And the fear is a primordial fear. It's a physical fear as an animal, as the human. But the consciousness knows that this is just one vessel and one potential, and there's limitless. I think that you are totally right that the human potential, a lot of the futurists talk about Homo universalis. Barbara Marx Hubbard talked about that. And then other people talk about Homo luminous. And we are that if we'll allow ourselves to experience it and then walk with it, play with it. I think consciousness is a big database, and we're like little USB drives, and it wants more input. We're like the little input into it. And so it'll give you more and more. If you'll do it, it'll give you the next one. And then right? That put people in your way, or your book will fall off a shelf, or it just, things happen to expand that. So tell me, so I loved your conversation about language, and I speak Italian and English. How many languages do you speak? Do you speak Egyptian too?
I speak Arabic, English, Spanish. a little bit of Italian, a little bit of French. It's just
Wow.
a matter of, like practicing it.
Yeah.
And of course, if we take into consideration the ancient languages, like, or the cosmic ones, then it opens to another parameter. Yes.
I got to be at an event down in Denver. I live in Boulder, Colorado. I got to be in an event where there was this beautiful Arcturian woman who had a clip of extra ETs or our brothers and sisters talking, but she said, "Don't expect them to come and speak to you that way." They were singing. And it was 3 different species of Palladian, Arcturian, and I don't remember the third. But it was so beautiful. It sounded like the 5th dimension, how they have the harmony. And again, I just felt it. I couldn't tell you what it said at all. So I just use that as my compass. but I find this fascinating. So, okay, so let's talk about this primordial, because you're really working on activating more of the human uh, sensory perception, I guess, is one of the ways you could talk about it. Nassim Haramein says there's a black hole in every cell in our body, and that's what connects us to oneness. And black holes aren't necessarily bad. I mean, sci-fi has created it as like, oh, you're going down the drain and you and you go.
Exactly.
Could you talk a little bit about this primordial human and the biology that, as you understand it?
Yes, of course. I just want to say that the way that you perceive reality, what you say, like perhaps you don't truly understand what, like from a cognitive approach, what those words mean, what those frequencies mean. As we were talking in terms of energy, as you are actually activating the parts in your holographic body, in your physical body, that are required to bring in that field of coherence. And then later on, or at that moment, you have this epiphany moment where you bring dots together, because that's the beauty of this technology. It's they go beyond the cognitive thinking.
Right.
This is why they are not chased by any ego battle, because they just come through. That's the huge breakthrough in between going into, let's say, a session and having a battle in between the law, like God's advocate or devil's advocate. The advocate is very good at mind, so it will go infinitely. That's our mind, you're trying to convince. However, when we are trying to speak through another language, that our more than mind, um, ration, our rationality as it was educated doesn't have an answer, like it just goes into that void. Speaking about black hole, it's through the heart.
Right. Right.
So this is the unified language, love. And again, not love as we have been educated. Love, I'm talking about the singularity that resides within every black hole. So if we understand how the nature of the black hole is, we will actually have a bigger picture of how our biology functions at every moment, how the universe relates to us in the way that it does at a macro, at a micro level. For instance, in the case of the black hole, I agree. I'm very much in resonance with Nassim's work. And the black hole is present in every, it's the technology that is followed by the fundamental particles by the fundamental forms of existence in this universe, as you said, through the black holes network, is that we are interconnected. And of course, that involves many variants, like whether it's the quantum tunneling, the wormholes, the 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 delocalized aspect of our nature, you know. Yet it's the same formula. What I was saying earlier,
Yes.
it's the same formula, just at different scales, because through every filament that compose, let's say, a fabric as an extension of the space-time fabric or the space memory network, what creates those wormholes are the very same information of the space memory network. And what interconnects the black holes are wormholes. Those wormholes at different scales, at some point, they are not lines as they are shown in Google, or they were taught in school. The wormholes are very much, like twisted as our very same DNA, because even our DNA is a reflection of the space memory network.
Exactly.
So in the case of the black holes, there are not these massive sucking forces of life. They are actually, they give life. They are the origin of that life. And due to those wormholes is that life exists. We can see it in all the ancient civilizations with the famous eye everywhere, because the eye precisely represents the black hole, where the perception begins, where life initiates. Because if we don't perceive anything at all, then life ceases. There's nothing there. It's through the interaction and the relationship in which someone becomes the observer, and to some extent the receptor and the emissor, of information, that feedback is, it's the source experiencing itself in different forms. So now, which part of source, for instance, would the black hole be? Where there are primordial black holes, and if we follow the nature of the universe, then we would know that source itself is a black hole, and that's where all life comes from. And black holes are actually quite stable. There are a lot of layers. It's not only black hole and event horizon, and in between a massive magnetic pole, that it's bringing all the information, and there is nothing after. No, in a black hole, there is what Penrose would define as black hole and white hole, which would be, let's say, the entrance and the exit, or the entrance and the exit. Always there are two poles. This is one of the universal laws. What humanity has neglected again, or like skipped the focus on that part, is that to every pole there is a singularity, and in this singularity present in every black hole is where wholeness is. It's actually, we could call the stillness within all that construction, and yet it's not still at all. It's vibrant. It's actually the most expansive. As still as it is the most expansive, because that information of that singularity is creating consciousness. So then again, through that space is not finite, is then interconnected through vacuum fluctuation to the rest of the space. And by vacuum fluctuation, I'm talking about this dynamism that actually, through that very same resonance, is interconnected through quantum tunneling in a non-localized form to every particle of information around the universe. So if we apply that black hole tech to ourselves, what would it be? Crown chakra being the entrance, let's say, that black hole, then our root chakra being the white hole. And then again, it's not linear. Then we would have another black hole in each chakra, and then we would have a white hole in every same chakra, interconnecting us to that primordial field. And then that's the beauty of it. It's endless, it's like and then in every proton a black hole, that even like, and even if you see the nature of our biology, it uses a lot of black hole tech, to create, let's say, the endorphins, oxytocin, the mitochondria itself. They are using black hole tech, they're using vacuum fluctuations, vacuum engineering, vacuum energy to actually create that energy at a cosmic level. So I always ask myself, like, and I like to imagine how reality is going to be now that we, like, as a collective, are becoming, not only becoming aware of all of this, yet also applying all this technology in our daily life basis, not only outside yet within. The implications to this, they're huge.
Right.
It's
Well,
exciting.
that's what they say, is that you can't even imagine how glorious our future is going to be. Rather than being fearful, be excited. Use that same energy to envision the world you want. And I think there's, with the new children coming in, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing Mary Rodwell and all of her work, and so many people actually that have been open to expanding possibilities and getting out of the Newtonian way of looking things, interconnecting spirituality with science, which it was never supposed to be separated, I don't think. And once that gets reconnected, there'll be an understanding, and a lot of the fear, I hope, will be washed away. Because when you see the genius of what is possible here, it's amazing. What do you think about, obviously we're both interested in ET contact. What do you think about, because I know you got to interview JP, and I've been watching some of your interviews. Yeah, I really think that they've been dripping information to us through media for 30 years, where even maybe even longer. And not all of it's been be afraid of what's in the skies, but now they're starting to find chambers underneath the pyramids. They're finding so much information about the last 26,000 year cycle, or the cycles before, that are in a lot of the ancient texts. Is that how you got, and you got activated in Egypt, I think, right? More. You look Egyptian sometimes in your videos. You look Egyptian a lot. It's like, oh my.
Yeah, a lot of people actually think, like, they are quite sure that I'm Egyptian, and when I say I was born in Mexico, they're like, what? Yes. Well, this again, like, this is the beauty where you see that matter is just a little aspect of what we can perceive of this, of the whole universe, how it truly works,
Right.
because then we see that even our own genetics, in this lifetime, they are not what are defining. I mean, by our transgenerational, like our family and so forth, they are truly not defining who we are.
Right.
Because our genetics, the information in our genetics, is just the related part to our family is just a little tiny. It become very, very active. Why? Because of how this reality was configured. nevertheless, the more that we actually become detached from that framed form of perception of reality, and fixing our matter to just one space instead of being interconnected through through our electromagnetic field, through plasma, through Planck plasma, through all the reality, then we're capable to actually activate the next level genetic codes within. So yeah, of course. In Egypt, I went through a lot of upgrades, a lot. It was a huge calling, like when I received that I needed to be there, it was like, I need to be there. It's a huge calling, and everything went in the specific way to lead me there. And so yeah, there is a lot of information coming through, a lot, as as you said. And I do believe it is like, as this is inherently happening, then now other factions have tried to manipulate that disclosure with a lot of putting their own ingredients, trying to put their own ingredients in that disclosure, and then taking over it. However, this is imminent, like the stage that humanity is experiencing at this moment. We have already being working through so many spatiotemporal constants and aligning them into this reality, that even if we go through the macrocosmos and see how the wavelength of, let's say, a ninth density goes, we will understand that it's now the cycle in which the collective is to awaken.
Mhm.
How much part of that collective that is still depending on each one of us? Yet the more that we come from the space of the heart and remember that all of that information is not alien to us,
Right.
it's ourselves, the different dimensions as multidimensional beings. And the more that we occupy our space, the more that we will be able to be, uh, let's say, to serve for this planetary and interplanetary. Um,
Exactly. Yes. And I believe that the 12 strands of DNA are one by one being activated as you release the construct of thought, the thought pattern or whatever that is keeping that strand dormant. Once you release that, and then you have so much access to information that that's the part that's going to be interesting, how everyone integrates it. But in finding communities where other people are a little further ahead of you that can explain it like what you do, Issa, it's so helpful for people as they're opening up and they see things and they just need validation, or they need integration of the information so that they can use it in a better way. Because some people, when they have a Kundalini awakening or they have an experience, they can't integrate it. And so I imagine working with you would help them be able to understand and utilize, right?
well, I hope it does. I can speak for the people that I am honored to support and have supported throughout their path of remembrance. And yeah, I have come up with helpful methods. This is why I give online courses and and also one-on-one sessions to actually convey these methods, because as much as it might sound that all this information can be really complex, it's actually very simple. When you get a hang of how it truly functions, then again, you just apply the formula at different scales. And then it's way easier, like, for instance, the source code. When I work with codes and translate them and activate them through energy, frequency, and vibration, they are embedded in the cymatics of our own DNA. So your source code, your geometrical body, when I translate it and then we go one-on-one activating it, then it results in, like this huge quantum leaps, that your life shifts in a short time in a very easy way, and you fully align to your mission, or you really know where your mission is and you head that way, which is mostly head that way. But I've translated over 200 source codes by now, which is again, geometrical bodies. It's like your own geometry, like your cosmic fingerprint. And the results are remarkable, remarkable. And I do believe, and this is one of the reasons why I do it, is because when you are aware and activate your geometrical body, then you're not following anymore unconsciously or indirectly the anchors that were set up in your holographic body, because then the more that you empower your geometrical body, the more that your holographic body is actually now flowing in communion, and then your holographic body becomes precisely that geometry. So
Cool.
then you're connecting to the source at a higher level. And these are tools, and not even like the source code itself is our structure, our finest structure, as beings, as divine beings, not only as humans only, as beings, as multidimensional beings. So for me, this is very important, actually, very, very important, because then, as I was saying, all the anchors that were inorganically set up, then they just fade away,
Right.
because there is no holographic body that is sustaining them anymore. And again,
Yay.
yeah.
So I do these soul illumination readings, which are also multidimensional, and use the galactic Akashic records keepers and stuff. But I love what you're doing, and I'm glad I just opened your website while you were talking so I could see. And so tell I want to make sure that we get to talk about what Jaime Maussan showed you and that whole event. Can we go to that now real quick? Is that okay? Because
Sure.
I'm so excited. Do you want me to show the picture I made, or do you want to show your video? Do you want to show the picture first and then
yes,
the video?
yes,
Okay.
yes, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. So these are two pictures that I got off your Facebook page. And so you could just explain. So this is one, and hopefully they can see my cursor. I don't know if they can, but anyway. Okay. So why don't you explain about this orb? It's just absolutely beautiful.
Well, this Buga sphere, the name Buga was given because it's the place where they found it, which is the city of Buga in Colombia. And the technology of this sphere, even though it's not fully understood right now by the scientists that are kindly and committedly researching it, based on like they have done very interesting findings, like for instance that the electric field of the Buga sphere, like the electric charge is the charge is negative, and that the way that it interacts, it's actually through energy charges, like mainly, like if you have it levitates due to those properties, because as as the reaction back and forward that it has with the earth, the boogosphere being a negative charge, then it allows to keep, suspended in the air. And so they have used different machines to measure, that, to being like, that's how they became aware of those facts of the sphere. The sphere has been growing in weight ever since it was firstly
Round.
when they first caught it, that it was 3 kilos. Now the sphere is 10 kilos. There are a lot of theories about that it's because, like, as it canceled its levitation properties right now, therefore there is uh, um, variation in its technology, and therefore in its energetic field. Then that's why it is becoming heavier, because it's falling more and more and more into the gravitational loss, to say it somehow. For me, how I see it, it's very simple. The fact is that this sphere, one of its purposes is to recollect information. So, as it is recollecting information, it's becoming heavier. It's like it's eating information. And as it doesn't have the the motion to actually go and travel and leave information exchanging, it's not exercising, then it is becoming heavier. If you put it now, allow it to go and levitate, it will be recycling all that information. Oh, not recycling, that it's that's not the word. Let's say that it is imprinting information wherever it's going to, and there, once it imprints it, it's actually that the information that it's receiving in exchange, it's sending it to the nexus, to the network where it is connected to, through that interface, and reaching that's let's say the epicenter of that interface, which is a very specific technology related to a very specific group, ET group. So now, this is not the only sphere. There have been more found, way
Oh, really?
way
Oh,
more. Like
oh.
it's a trend. It's booming, and not only spheres, also artifacts.
Are they drones? Are they like drones where they're collecting surveillance information? I mean, I love it because I think we're so ready for disclosure. It's not going to come through the governments, and if they let us have a couple of these, that there's going to be no doubt that it wasn't manufactured here. The other thing, I watched a video about it. I'm just so excited about this thing, where they poured water on it and the water evaporated right away. They
Yeah.
they couldn't find a seam, even though it looks like there's a seam around the center. It isn't man-made. It isn't created in this gravity. By us. So this came from somewhere else, and the fact it was on Mexican TV with Jaime Maussan had it on his show and showed everybody, that's an activation.
Yes, that's a huge activation, because again, even though it's not as active and its field, because it has been taken into different tests as the Van der Graaf cage, which is like they block all its signal, therefore its field would decrease considerably.
Right.
That's why we were, chanting, and I was communicating like non-verbally with it in many forms, not only through the frequency of my voice, yet also through pulses, light pulses, by manipulating the holographic field and tuning and scanning its own. Even though they say it doesn't have an electromagnetic field, I do attribute this to the fact that it's not active. Once it's active, it will actually, because they are attributing that it works through an static field.
Oh,
However, based on my research and the information that I'm tuning into, because I'm in constant communication with it, and also the nexus, the network, and also other uh, ET groups involved, because again, each group, there is very, I will do actually a video later today talking more about this, but
okay.
there is, because there are many things actually to say about this. So,
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all.
no, my pleasure. I was just I was going to do it for a while now, but it was the perfect moment, and today it's the perfect day.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So the thing is that inside, like it has what we could call as a Nikolai Tesla tech. Why? Because inside it has the shape of the Tesla Tower,
That's
the one that he created, and that it's also seen in ancient hieroglyphs. So it's not Tesla tech, like
ancient.
primarily, it's ancient tech. But the thing is that they believe that due to that asymmetrical tower shaped and its core, that once it's rotating, it will become quite unstable. The thing is that, it's like every time that you rotate something, that something is spinning, it creates a circle regardless. So it will become symmetrical, once it's active.
Oh, that's why that's why it malfunctioned.
Yes, no, that's they like they gave the idea that they could activate it, yet they haven't done that because they are afraid that it will be too unstable due to the fact that it's not symmetrical in the inside. Nevertheless, again, what I have tuned into, and based on my research, and also on in this case Nassim's research, who's a very good friend of mine, and like I do know it's not due to that, because I respect him a lot as a scientist, but I can find a lot of, in a very easy way, how he puts all the information, and it's very very much in resonance to what I share. So mainly those black dots are black holes. They name them as like fiber optics, but fiber optics again is black hole tech. You
Yeah.
know, Even though it's not a hole, we are not talking about that. It's the fact that how it's capturing light, and therefore, as it's capturing light through those holes, then it inherently has an electromagnetic field going on. It's like, for instance, when we mention black hole, they think that it's just a magnetic pole. No, it has also an everything that has a magnetic pole has an electric charge
Right.
inherently, you
Right.
know, otherwise it would collapse. So once it's receiving those photons of light, well, those photons, then that how it is actually functioning, in between all those black holes, they are quantum tunneling that
Oh.
energy all the way to the center through a very specific vacuum fluctuation. And once that vacuum fluctuation is activated through the spin, what happens is that as this has one shape and the outer form has another shape, instead of sucking them, what they do is they pull outwards,
I see.
and that creates levitation. That's negative energy density. And the
Right.
thing that negative energy density is something that will people will become more aware now.
Yeah, that's a way that we're going to have cars that aren't that are floating on the instead of on the road. They'll be floating, and it's gonna change everything. That's why I'm so excited about the disclosure of our friends, because I think it'll change the whole construct of our lives here and make it so much better. So, wow, we're going to have to do this again. We already spent our time today, but oh my gosh, I have a zillion more questions. So
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And everyone, please make sure, YssaH, let's make sure they know your website so that they can follow you. And again, please go to our YouTube channel as well. But go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for the invitation. It was a true pleasure for me. Yeah, we will have a part 2. We can absolutely continue talking about this and many other topics. Thank you so much for bringing all this information there, and for your beautiful energy.
Thank you.
And yeah, you also have a lot of power.
Yes.
What you're doing is very important.
Yes.
Very, very important.
Well, I want to make sure that people know your website. Do you want to tell them your website so that they could check out your courses and see if they can do a one-on-one with you?
Sure. It's www.hunuh/ at the center AKHNA.com.
Good. I'm glad you spelled it, since I couldn't pronounce it very well.
I know.
The hardest part about interviewing people is not messing up their names.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, please, everyone, please share this if you know that there's somebody that really needs to be uplifted with this positive message, and to really, are they ready to step into their true self? Please share this and let your family and friends know. I think you'll see YssaH has so much to offer us in the new earth, and I'm so excited that I got to have this time with you today. Thank you, dear.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.